Yasu Malaka. Welcome to the Malaka podcast. Riot. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know we're dealing with tough times right now. A lot of people are losing their jobs, they're losing their homes, they got nowhere to go, and you couldn't have picked a worse time for riots. You just couldn't. I mean, you got people that have been in their house for, 3-4 months now, just, bored out of their minds, nothing to do, not working, not making any money. And these are the people that really have nothing to lose. So we got an excuse to riot and, form groups on the street and have free time for this shit. Everything's just coming together. And me personally, I've never seen the point of a riot. I mean, it should be, treated like war. It's a worst case scenario thing, and unfortunately, a lot of people just, like I said, I think a lot of people are just bored. They got nothing to do. They're just, they want to go out there and, prove a point. And I get that, you want to have your voice heard, you're sick and tired of certain things going on. If you can have a peaceful protest, that's fine, but to go out there and, harass cops, that actually want to do something good, not, these dirty cops, we all know who these people are, but just keep it civil. That's all, but if you want to go out there and, start a riot and start fights and, light shit on fire and, throw shit at people and, like what are you trying to prove? I mean, you're creating more problems, You're taking away what makes society good. And, you're looting and you're stealing from basically your own, You're taking from, convenience stores and, whatever. And I mean, you're just hurting the economy more, There's no point. There really isn't. I mean, that's just me, I mean, okay, maybe a lot of people are thinking the opposite, they just want to go out there and, like I said before, have their voice heard and, make sure that their point comes across. But, there's certain ways to do it and there's certain ways not to. So I just wanted to say that just from the beginning. Now, good old Wikipedia here has a good, distinct, definitive answer on what exactly a riot is. So let's get into it. Also, before I get into it, I just want to say this just right off the bat. We're showing a couple pictures here on Wikipedia, and here's one thing I never understood. So you want to make a point, in a riot, you want to stand up for what you believe in, you've had enough, blah, 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 whatever. Why do you cover your face? Okay, now I get now why you're covering your face. I get it. Like we all know why, because of COVID, we all have no choice there. But you like even before, I mean, like if you're going out there, I mentioned war before, a lot of these guys aren't covering their face. I mean, they got to cover their heads, wear helmets and stuff, but, I mean, they're not ashamed of, who they are, and they're not afraid to show who they are. So, all I'm saying is if you're going to represent something that you truly believe in, and you don't want to hide from it, obviously you're in public, why are you covering your face? Something to think about. Anyways, a riot is a form of civil disorder commonly characterized by a group lashing out in a violent public disturbance against authority, property, or people. Riots typically involve destruction of property, public or private. The property targeted varies depending on the riot and the inclinations of those involved. Targets can include shops, cars, restaurants, state-owned institutions, and religious buildings. Riots often occur in reaction to a grievance or out of dissent. Historically, riots have occurred due to poverty, unemployment, poor living conditions, governmental oppression, taxation, or conscription. Conflicts between ethnic groups, race riot, or religious sectarian violence, pogrom. The outcome of a sporting event. May I just point out a lot of people that live in Philadelphia. Yeah. Sports riot, football, hooliganism, or frustration with legal channels through which to air grievances. What I just said before. I mean, it's all the same shit. Yes, I did put an emphasis on Philly fans. Okay, you go on YouTube, you guys are nuts, man. I'm gonna get into sports fans in another podcast, but I mean, you guys gotta calm down, okay? Like in the end, guys, it's just a sport, okay? I get it if you wanna, go out there and, grieve over something else, I get it, but it's just a fucking game, okay? Look at me, I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, okay? We haven't won a fucking cup since 1967. Okay, I don't want to talk about 93, 94 and what could have happened there. I'm already sick of it. The point is, I'm not going to go out there and fucking, light a car on fire. Okay, so just calm the fuck down. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I think in cases like that, Bill Burr was right. But anyways, while individuals may attempt to lead or control a riot, riots typically consist of disorganized groups that are frequently chaotic and exhibit herd behavior. Herd behavior. Now that's pretty funny. I mean, think about it. Like when you see a herd of cows or chickens or lambs. They'll travel together. They're kind of blocking the road, whatever, and just creating havoc for no reason. But they're fucking animals. They don't know. They're just living on, instinct, whatever. As a human race, we should know better. Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Thank you. There is a growing body of evidence to suggest that riots are not irrational, herd-like behavior. Bullshit. Sometimes called mob mentality. Okay, now I'm half Italian, so we'll get into that another time. But all I'm saying is, let's just, keep in mind that a lot of these fuckers, they do know what they're doing, okay? They didn't just show up at the wrong place at the wrong time, okay? But at the same time, some of these guys, they know how to act. So, again, that's, the back and forth of a riot. As soon as you hear riot, you think worst case scenario, But you do that with a lot of things. But anyways, but actually follow inverted social norms, which again could be true, like I said. Dealing with riots is often a difficult task for police forces. They may use tear gas or CS gas to control rioters. Riot police may use less than lethal methods of control. We're gonna get into that in a little bit later, such as shotguns that fire flexible baton rounds to injure or otherwise incapacitate rioters for easier arrests. Now, guys, like I said before, it sucks that it has to get to this point. There's no point in war. I really do believe that. That's just my opinion. Nobody wins in war. And nobody really wins in a riot. It just gets to a point where there's one group that is so frustrated and, they're just pretty much as down as they can be, maybe financially, mentally, whatever. And then there's another group that just has to contain them, And you ask a lot of these guys, and it's by any means necessary. And there's really no winners in this. There really isn't. People are gonna get hurt, people get killed. It sucks. It really, really sucks. And I was just thinking, what is the first riot of all time? I mean, it's hard to say what is the official one, but I went on Wikipedia here, like I always do. And, they gave you a list of shit here. And, the number one thing that I saw was the assassination of Julius Caesar. So let me just read on here. Julius Caesar, the Roman dictator, was assassinated by a group of senators on the Ides of March 15th, of 44 BC, during a meeting of the Senate at the Theater of Pompey in Rome. The senators stabbed Caesar 23 times. So now I have another reason to remember the number 23. Anyways, the senators claimed to be performing the act over fears that Caesar's unprecedented concentration of power during his dictatorship was undermining the Rome Republic, and presented the deed as an act of tyrannicide. At least 60 senators were party to the conspiracy, led by Marcus Brutus, Gaius Cassius, and Decimus Brutus. Despite the death of Caesar, the conspirators were unable to restore the institutions of the Republic, and ramifications of the assassination led to liberators, civil war, and ultimately to the Principate period of the Roman Empire. So what you're trying to say is this whole fucking thing was pointless. I mean, what the fuck was I saying before? I mean, riots are pointless. It's a worst case scenario kind of thing. So these guys, they planned this shit, and they knew Julius Caesar kicked some serious ass. That's why there's a salad named after him. If you ever have it with chicken and shrimp, by the way, it is beautiful. But anyways, see, this is the problem. Like, a lot of people don't understand, certain policies, and instead of just talking it out, what do? They just, they try to kill him. As you can see, it clearly didn't work out, and that's why I tell people all the time. Violence is the worst case scenario in any situation. It really is. If someone comes up to you and says, "You want to fight?" you tell them, "You're an idiot." I was going to say something else, but you got to keep it PC nowadays, and I don't know. We'll get into that another day. But just call them Malaka and be done with it. That's it. But again, like I said, we're going through these times where people are cuckoo, and they got nothing else to do. They're done, watching, Tiger King on Netflix, whatever. Me right now, I'm in the process of watching Martin again. I forgot how funny he was. I also forgot how insecure his character was, with Gina. But anyways, the point is, I'm getting off topic here. All I'm saying is just try to talk things out before you actually, decide to go out there and, riot. But like I said, there's people out there, let's just call them millennials, who know how to, have a peaceful protest, which is cool. If anything, I'm not gonna lie to you, I did laundry the other day. I only do laundry once a month because I have over 30 pairs of underwear. I talked about this in a previous podcast called Laundry. It's a classic. And, I was just talking to a guy there, just shooting the shit. And he says, yeah, I'm from Toronto, if you haven't figured that out yet. And, we're just, shooting the shit. We're talking about, what's going on. And, he says that every Saturday he still goes downtown, It's a peaceful, it's not even a riot. See, a riot, again, like I said before, it has a very negative, thing to it, whatever. And he goes down there, And it's just peaceful. That's all. He's standing up for certain things right now that's going on. And yeah. I mean, there's no violence involved. Which is good. I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the world. I don't know. I mean, holy shit. Certain places in the States, it just overseas, I mean, in Canada sometimes it can get a little out of hand, but I mean, it's just like Jesus Christ, guys. I mean, just calm down here. You know what I mean? I get it. We're all frustrated, But then again, there's the other hand. You can't blame these people for acting out either. I mean, they've had it up to here. No one's listening to them. The government's not doing shit. In some aspects they are. Some they're not doing enough, and some people aren't happy with this. And it's an ongoing fucking thing, and it's always going to be ongoing. But like I said before, because of the whole situation of COVID, people got nothing else better to do. And again, they're not working, they're not there, so they're like, fuck it. I'm gonna go out there and do it. I got all this time on my hands. Who cares? So. All I'm saying, guys, is just be peaceful. That's all. Do your best to just talk things out first. Okay. Let's save the tear gas for another time. I don't know what that time would be, but I don't know when the aliens finally come again. Yeah, we'll talk about that another time too. So I looked up, the most. Popular riots of all time. I shouldn't say popular, sorry, but just the most. I mean, according to CNBC here, the most destructive riots. There was one in New York City in 1863. It says here in 1863, citizens were drafted to serve on the Union side of the Civil War. However, a loophole existed, and anybody with $300 could pay a commutation fee and avoid conscription. So, yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I'm sure a lot of people did not even have that money. It says today that would be $5,000. Yeah, good luck coming up with that money. But yeah, and of course, people were pissed off about it, and yeah, they went nuts. So, yeah, and you can't blame them, I mean, fuck, five grand, fuck. I mean, fuck, who are they kidding? In Seattle, 1999, it says here, the World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference in 1999 was scheduled to take place in Seattle on November 30th. The lowball estimate is that a record 40,000 anti-globalization activists showed up to protest the meeting and shut it down entirely if possible. Activists blocked traffic at major intersections, thereby preventing delegates from getting to the conference, and police respond by firing tear gas, pepper spray, and eventually rubber bullets to disperse the crowds and get delegate. Okay, well, shit. Well, that didn't catch up on the ground, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I wasn't there. But yeah, I don't know. What's the old saying? They say, to prepare for peace, you gotta prepare for war. Yeah, well, I don't know. Anyways, New York City, 1977. On the evening of July 13th, 1977, New York City went dark. This happened before. The city has suffered blackout in 1965 as part of a regional outage effect of entire Northeast, and it was relatively free of major incidents. The 1977 blackout, however, was the exact opposite. And when the smoke cleared, a congressional investigation concluded that over $300 million worth of damages had been incurred. The 1977 blackout, which affected only New York City, was mirrored by passive arson and looting. Damn. Yeah. Again, guys, I don't know. I mean, I just feel for the people that, you know, have these stores, you know. There's a clip on YouTube of a guy, I think it was during the LA riots, and he's just going up and down the street, and he's pissed, but he's sad at the same time. He's just yelling out like you're robbing from me, and you're robbing from your own kind, and like again, nobody wins here, guys. You know what I mean? I mean, like, how would you like it if you owned a store and just because of an excuse of a riot and people going nuts, like people can just go into your store and just steal shit? You know what I mean? I mean, that's someone's family, man. I mean, fuck, man. Like, morons. Anyways, Cincinnati, 2001. The largest urban riot in the United States since the 1992 Los Angeles riots took place in Cincinnati in 2001. It was a reaction to the fatal police shooting of a 19-year-old Timothy Thomas, who was attempting to escape from police officers on foot on the third night of rioting. Charlie May Lucan issued a curfew, and the riots stopped. However, the riots stopped not because of the curfew, but due to an unforeseen factor: rain. The precipitation stopped the violence in its tracks and limited the damage to 3.6 million. So, a little thing like rain actually prevented a riot from being worse. Now, I'll talk about rain in another podcast in the future, but see, even that's a weird omen, man. I mean, you got to think, like, I mean, powers that be, maybe the man upstairs, said, you know what, guys, that's enough. This has gone on far enough. So, maybe people recognize it as a sign saying, look, we've done enough already, and that's it. So, something to think about. Anyways, Detroit, 1967. Am I haunted by this year, 1967? I mean, fuck me. Anyways, early in the morning of July 23rd, 1967, Vice Squad officers raided an unlicensed speakeasy in Detroit's notoriously rough Near West Side. Fuck, you think it was rough back then? Anyways, rumors of excessive police force made the rounds, and it didn't take long before a seething mob had congregated on the street. At 5 a.m., a bottle was thrown through a police car's rear window, and the situation escalated, prompting the police to respond with large numbers and additional personnel. By the time 3 p.m. rolled around, there were almost 400 police officers trying to restore order in the neighborhood, and their efforts were met with a huge barrage of bottles and rocks. Firefighters responding to rapidly spreading blazes were also subjected to a hail of deadly projectiles. When the violence dissipated 5 days later, 5 days later, holy shit, property damage was estimated to be between $40 million to $80 million. Holy fuck. Like I said before, guys, I don't know, you hear these stories about Detroit now. I don't know, there's houses there for $2,000, $3,000. Some of these guys just leave them as be and, just torch them and collect the insurance money. There's areas I've heard where there's literally pit bulls that have taken over certain areas, and you can't even go in there because they're just breeding like crazy. But even this, I mean, like, holy fuck, this is just crazy, man. I mean, I feel for the people in Detroit, man. I really do. But this is just, holy shit. Yeah, you don't wish shit like this on your worst enemy, man. I mean, it's serious when you got to bring out everybody, the firefighters, policemen. Again, it should never get to this point, ever. I mean, 5 days. Just sit on that, like a riot that lasts 5 days. That's crazy, man. I mean, oh, jeez. Chicago, 1968. When civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on April 4th, 1968, it touched off riots in more than 100 major American cities. One of the affected cities, Chicago, saw a full 28 blocks inundating with looting and arson, prompting Mayor Richard Daley to mobilize more than 10,000 police officers and impose a curfew on anybody under the age of 21. Arson was so extensive that the fires exceeded the capabilities of the city's fire department. So many buildings burnt to the ground. Many that didn't were so badly damaged that they had to be torn down, rendering hundreds of people homeless and costing more than $10 million in damages. Wow. I don't know. See, like this is the worst thing of this. I mean, I said before, like, we're dealing with COVID, and a lot of people are just, losing their homes, and people can't work and shit. But then even after, when people do this rioting, again, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. Again, people, I don't know these people's mentality in the riots. Some are good, some are bad. I don't know, but. Again, if something bad happens to you, that doesn't mean you got to take it out on the next, innocent person, or business or whatever. Just keep that in mind, guys. Again, how many times have I said this so far? 12. Just try to keep it peaceful if you can. I mean, I don't know. Watts, 1965. The 1965 riots in Los Angeles neighborhood of Watts were the worst in the city's history at the time. Watts was a predominantly low-income community with a large African American population, many of whom felt that, in addition to high unemployment, poverty, and racial discrimination, its residents were regularly on the receiving end of police brutality. These sentiments fueled a bitterness and resentment that wouldn't need much prodding to turn violent. The riots were touched off on August 11th when a California Highway Patrol officer pulled over a drunk driver, and a small crowd watching the routine traffic stop grew into a rock-throwing horde. The situation degenerated into widespread violence that didn't fully die down until 6 days later. 5 plus 1, guys. 6 days later, at a cost of $40 million and 34 lives. The unrest would stand as the worst such case in Los Angeles history until the 1992 riots 27 years later. So, guys, you thought 5 days was a lot. 6 days. I mean, this brings up a really good point. A lot of these riots are just, they're just fueled by racism. It's almost like it's almost like a fucking classic story at this point. You got racist cops, dealing with, people, that think they, are just, doing nothing wrong. Even worst case scenario, it's a drunk driver. Okay, you pull the drunk driver over. If you feel he's drunk, you take him out. You handcuff him, you put him in the car. That's it. Okay? You don't use any more brutality than you have to, or if any. You don't take out your fucking insecurities on someone else. Guys, wake up, man. Wake the fuck up. Okay? This isn't about you. You become a cop, you have to uphold the law. You have to, and you got to go by the book. Okay? If this was whatever years ago or present, you have to. Okay? I mean, it's sad that we got to say this still in, 2020, people are still aren't fucking listening, I'm not saying all cops are bad. Okay? But if I can give advice to any cop out there, you're always being watched. Actually, you know what? Let me give advice to anybody out there. We're all being watched. Okay, I don't mean to sound paranoid or nothing, we're being watched, man. No, just in general. I mean, there's cameras everywhere. Everybody's got a fucking phone. Like, you're being watched, Don't think, because you put on the uniform, it gives you this, this force field. Like you can't be touched. Okay? Like, again, don't bring your insecurities to work. Okay? If you're a good cop, that's awesome. That's cool. But if you're just, a cop that's pissed off all the time, you want to take your shit out on the next person, don't wear the badge, man. Like, don't come to work. Don't be a cop, okay? Take the day off if you have to. Take a week off if you have to, Analyze your life. Wake up. Oklahoma State Penitentiary, 1973. Well, goes to show that not all riots are on the streets. One of the worst prison riots in U.S. history took place at the Oklahoma State Prison at McAllister on July 27, 1973. The facility had opened in 1911 with a capacity for 1,100 inmates. That number was exceeded in less than a decade, and by the 1970s, it had doubled. The overcrowding was accompanied by a woeful, inadequate number of correctional officers. Yeah, no shit. And when two of them were attacked in the prison cafeteria, things spiraled out of control. 21 prison officials were taken hostage. And it wasn't long before inmates turned against one another. 5 hours after the initial incident, the facility was in flames. Officials were unable to regain control of a prison until August 4th. And all told, the riots had caused over $20 million in damages. Despite addressing many of the conditions that had caused the violence in the first place, officials saw another riot at the prison in December 1985. I can't even picture what it's like to be a prison guard. I mean, I actually dated a woman one time that worked in like a child or youthful prison, whatever, and they got to put up with a lot of shit, and you kind of have a feeling that some of these kids are kind of like being nice to sucker you in, and maybe they'll get you after. I mean, but then again, maybe they're just nice kids. I mean, you don't know. You know what I mean? Again, you don't know what someone's intentions are till maybe later, or maybe not off the bat. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But I do know that, one, I would never want to work there, and two, they were definitely not prepared for this. It just seems, there was just not enough guards here, and like I said before, it just goes to show that a riot can happen anywhere, even in an enclosed prison. It doesn't have to happen on the street or, a neighborhood or a busy intersection downtown. I mean, it could literally happen anywhere. So, just always be prepared. Newark, 1967. Again, I'm cursed with this number. Again, it's not about me. I'm just pointing that out. Anyways, 1967 riots in New Jersey's largest city were triggered by a rumor. On July 12th, 2 white police officers had stopped an African-American cab driver for impromptu passing them, and somehow a story got out that the officers had killed him while he was in custody. The account proved to be false, but the riot took on a life of its own, regardless, and persisted for 6 long days. resulting in 26 fatalities and $10 million worth of property damage. The unrest in New York also inspired similar violence in the nearby city of Plainfield, which had its own riots at the same time as the events in Newark unfolded. Although the Newark riots are more infamous than those that occurred in Plainfield, the city of Newark's images has recovered somewhat. While Plainfield was so stigmatized by the violence that many of the businesses destroyed in the rioting remain vacant to this day. 1967, 2020. They're still vacant. That's how bad it was. Wow, that's insane. I mean, fuck. And again, this proves another point. If you're gonna riot, or even before you decide to act in violence or just act in general, find out if it actually happened. Don't go by, oh, this person said this, oh, this person said that. Like this ain't fucking high school, okay? Get the facts, guys. I mean, holy shit. Los Angeles, 1992. In 1991, 4 Los Angeles police officers had brutally beaten Rodney King, an African-American motorist, after a high-speed pursuit. The incident was caught on videotape, and the footage was aired repeatedly on television news for an entire year. The use of force seemed so excessive that many people believe the officers could never walk away from the trial as free men. However, on April 29th, 1992, all 4 officers were acquitted. That's right. To this day, I still don't believe it. But anyways, thousands responded to the verdict by engaging in widespread arson, assault, and looting, killing 53 people and injuring thousands more. The unrest went on for 6 days and did not die down until the National Guard was deployed to the area. When it was all over, more than 1,000 buildings had been destroyed by fire, and most assessments of the damage put its cost almost $1 billion. Let me repeat that. $1 billion, making it the costliest episode by far of civil unrest in United States history. I don't know. I mean, I already talked about this during my police officer podcast. I mean, like I said before, I still can't believe this happened. I mean, like they're on videotape. Okay, keep in mind this is 1991. Okay, yes, there were cell phones, but they didn't have no fucking cameras or videos on them. I mean, they had those old like boombox style VHS. For those millennials out there, I'll explain what a VHS is later. Style video cameras. I mean, you had to lift weights to just hold it on your shoulder. And like they caught him right there. It's not like the quality was fuzzy or nothing. I mean, you can clearly see they got him in restraints, and they're beating the shit out of this guy for no fucking reason. Okay. Let me explain this something to people out there. When you have someone, handcuffed, you put them in the car, that's it. You can't touch them. You can't take out your fucking frustration and beat the shit out of this guy for no fucking reason. You can't do it. It doesn't matter what he did, okay? Again, you don't know his mental state. He could have been on something. Who knows? It doesn't matter. You can't do anything. What these guys did was wrong. And how the fuck these guys got away with it is beyond me. And this is a situation, guys, I'll be honest with you. Once I heard these guys were innocent. I was like even when I was younger, I was like, oh shit. And again, I don't blame these people for rioting, but again, like you shouldn't riot, but then like I said, you can't blame people for being frustrated, and again, there's no winners in this, none. And I'll tell you something else too. I don't give a shit what anybody says, and a lot of people feel the same way that I do about this. When OJ was found innocent, okay, let's just be honest, he did it. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. He fucking did it. Here's the big question. If he didn't do it, who did? We all know he did it. Even Steve Harvey said he did it. Okay? Come on. He was found innocent because they didn't want people to fucking riot. Okay? A lot of people say that. I don't doubt that. I really don't doubt that. I mean, think about it. If he was found guilty, I mean, God only knows what would have happened after. We don't know for sure. But at the same time, I mean, it's like, I mean, like you want the city to go through again, this shit? I mean, but at the same time, like, does it, like, is that what it's come down to? We have to let, like, an obvious murderer, be innocent just so the rest of the city can, be okay. And I get that, and again, this is where it goes back and forth. It's like, okay, this is good, this is bad. Like nobody wins in this situation. Nobody. I'm still shocked to this day that these guys were found innocent. Like I mean, it's right there on camera, man. Like what more do you want? Like, I mean, it's there, man. Like nothing happened. I remember even watching the NWA movie, Straight Outta Compton. I mean, they mentioned that in that movie, and it was a big part of it, And you could tell, like, it fueled a lot of these guys too, Like, man, it is so fucking frustrating sometimes. I'm telling you, Like, it really is. Like, you try to tell people, what's right, and people just beat their own fucking drum, and they don't give a fuck, and they have no idea what the repercussions could be later on. A riot. That's it. I mean, that's what could happen, and that's what did happen. I'm from Toronto. Okay, I'm from one of the parts of the 6 called East York. Every time I say someone to East York, they go, "Oh, Scarborough." I'm like, no. I got nothing against Scarborough. I'm just saying I'm from East York, okay? But was in 2010 they had the G20 Toronto Summit. Now, for those of you who don't know what this is, the 2010 G20 Summit was the 4th meeting of the G20 heads of state government to discuss the global financial system and the world economy. And it took place in the Metro Toronto Convention Centre in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, during June 26th to the 27th, 2010. Now, you have this many people, this many powerful people there, Who are they going to call? Of course they're going to call me. Did I go? Hell no. Hell no. You crazy? I'm not going down there. Why? Because I know what's going to happen. I know people are going to riot. I know people are going to go nuts. I even heard a story during that time where there was a dry cleaner, and like a lot of the police uniforms were stolen. Guess what those are going to be used for? Then there was a police car that was lit on fire. My guess is that it was a dummy car. I mean, they probably just put it there. I mean, who knows? They probably didn't even have an engine in it. I mean, they just put it there, because they know people are going to go nuts, and, there you go, So again, like, I'm just mentioning this because you have to, keep in mind where something big like this happens, when you have a lot of powerful people in one area, and especially when it involves government. And that's another thing, like government forget. I mean, there's 2 things when you go to a bar, guys, you don't talk about: government and religion. What starts wars? What starts riots? Government, religion. Okay? You don't talk about that shit. That's it. But when you have summits like this, big groups coming together, you have to prepare for it. There was a bit of rioting. Obviously, you're not going to please everybody. It is what it is. Free country, blah, 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 whatever. This is why I don't vote. But anyways, that's a story for another time. I don't want to hear any shit about it. The point is, I have my reasons. The point is, at least we sort of prepared for this to happen. There's got to be good security there. There's got to be, make sure the area is closed off and well contained. Make sure the people that are there, they're well protected. So we gotta, we always have to prepare for this. We gotta prepare for the worst to happen. Even what was it? Good old year ago, or a little over a year ago, when my beloved Toronto Raptors won. They did not anticipate that many people. Now, I'm not saying there was a big riot there, but at one point someone heard a shotgun. I mean, again, I thank God there wasn't a riot or people were okay there, But again, I mean, you have to prepare. All I'm saying is you have to prepare for this shit. You have to. You have to prepare for the worst. Oh, I'm always a worst case scenario kind of guy. Not because I'm, grown up with the whole European mentality. Worst. The worst will always happen, but you do have to prepare. I mean, you really do. So, but at the same time, a lot of times you can't prepare for shit like this. You can't, and this happened, about a month and a half ago. You guys know what I'm talking about, the whole George Floyd situation. And like I said, this, this was such a sad incident that happened. I watched the full video. I still don't believe it. I really don't, I'm not saying I'm not naive, guys. I'm not saying that I don't know the shit is happening all over the world and everything. I'm just saying I still can't believe this is happening. You heard about that story before, a couple of years ago. Like it was like almost the same scene in Do the Right Thing. Where the guy got choked out by police and died. Same thing there, and even that I didn't believe. I got to be honest with you. Even back then, I'm surprised it more didn't come out of that. I'm surprised there wasn't even a bigger riot out of that. But this was almost like the last straw with George Floyd. For those of you who don't know, George Perry Floyd Jr. He was born October 14th, 1973, and passed away May 25th, 2020. Was a black American man killed during an arrest after allegedly passing a counterfeit $20 bill in Minneapolis. A white officer, Derek Chauvin, who gives a shit? Fuck how you pronounce this guy's name. Fuck him. Kneeled on Floyd's neck for nearly 8 minutes. After his death, protests against police violence towards black people quickly spread across the United States and internationally. Floyd grew up in Houston, Texas. He played football and basketball throughout high school and college. He held several jobs, and he was also a hip-hop artist and a mentor in his religious community. Between 1997 and 2005, he was convicted of 8 crimes. In 2009, he accepted a plea bargain for a 2007 aggravated robbery, serving 4 years in prison. In 2014, he moved to the Minneapolis area, finding work as a truck driver and a bouncer. In 2020, he lost his security job during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll just say this. I've been doing security for 12 and a half years. I've worked with some really good people. I've worked with people that they should just not have a license. It's just that, and that's putting it the nicest way possible. Like I've worked with assholes who literally like will bump into people on purpose just so they can get into a fight. I mean, this is the mentality some of these people have. Now, again, I don't know George Floyd. He's got a past, okay? You know what? Who doesn't? But did he deserve to die the way he did? Absolutely fucking not. I mean, this is just, like I said, I watched the video. The cop that's kneeling on him, the cop that's beside him there. You know what? I'm going to be even more honest. The people that were just on the side there, and this is where it gets difficult. It's like, I mean, when do you fight back? I just as a spectator, I mean, you just sit there and tape it, and worst case, you put it on the internet and you spread the word, or do you jump in there and you fucking do something? Okay, maybe the cops will attack you, arrest you, whatever. But I mean, can you really just stand there and do nothing? Like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And then there's the other view of the other side where they show the other officers like behind the cop car, and and then I heard the story that George worked with fucking the asshole here, like at a security job, and God only knows what the fuck happened there. Maybe they had like a fight before or something, and this guy's getting revenge or something. But this is fucked up, man. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, like, what is going on here, man? Like this is what it's come down to, Like, I gotta worry about like going to a job where, not only like something could happen to me by anybody, but I gotta worry about like the people who I talk to on my team. If one day, if I say the wrong thing to them, they could fucking kill me in the street. Like, is this the fucking life that anybody wants to live, And again, like I said, okay, he's got a pass. So what? Okay, maybe he tried to pass a fake 20. Like, fuck, man, he deserves to die for a fucking $20 bill? What are you, fucking insane? Like, what's going on here? And you're surprised that like people are rioting, especially now because they got nothing else to fucking do, And again, I don't blame them. I don't blame them, And cops are wondering, why are we the bad guys? I mean, fuck, man. I mean, look at the company you keep. Why isn't there a fucking psych test for these cops, man? Like, what kind of fucking sick fuck knees on a guy for close to 9 minutes and kills him? He's telling you he can't breathe. When I went through my situation there with the cops, and I talked about it on my suicide podcast. I didn't try to kill myself or nothing like that. Something that got really misconstrued. It's a long story. Just listen to the podcast. I mean, there was a point where like the cop had me against the wall, And I threw up a bit, and I just finished eating, and the cop was making fun of me. Like, he said shit like, my 10-year-old kid doesn't complain as much as you do. Like, I'm like what's, like would you guys do that shit if there was cameras in the background? Like, I noticed when I went outside, you didn't, here you go, sir. Like, yeah, people are watching you now. But some people don't even give a shit if there's people watching, Like, even the cop that just stood there and did nothing. He did nothing. You're telling people you're supporting what your partner does. Like, if someone is, I don't give a shit, like, who the fuck I'm working with. If I see somebody choking someone to death and it's my partner, you bet your fucking ass I'm going to whip out my baton and beat the shit out of the cop. You're fucking right, I'm going to do it. I don't give a shit how much shit I get for saying this. I don't care. I'm going to do it. Obviously, I'm going to tell him to stop. But if he doesn't listen, I'm going to take charge. But this is the kind of world we live in now. And now it's getting to a point now where people are just rioting. And I don't blame them. I really don't blame them. It's gotten to this point, but it shouldn't have gotten to this point, like, ever. You know? What did Rodney King say there? He said, like, why can't we all just get along? You know, and a lot of people, take it as a joke and whatever, and it's being made fun of, whatever, but it's true. Like, there's something, during this whole, pandemic that we're going through, this is not helping the situation at all. The whole point of a riot is to do it peacefully. Don't have yourself covered either, and again, I get the whole COVID thing. Okay, now you have to have yourself covered. I get that, but I'm just saying, in the past, if you truly believe in something you're protesting against, you shouldn't have to cover your face. And some people don't have to cover their face. Some people feel they wear a certain uniform, like this Derek jerk off, and he feels that everything is, fine. That's okay. I'm wearing a police badge. It's okay. I'm wearing the uniform. It's fine. It's not fine. I take that shit personally, because I've worked with really good bouncers, and I don't know, from what I saw from the news here, I mean, this guy seemed like a pretty good dude. He did some shit. Okay, fine, whatever, I've done some shit too. Listen to my Crime Doesn't Pay podcast, okay? I got a pass too, okay? We all do. Who cares? We've all done bad shit, We rise above it. We shouldn't have to, die for it later, if we've made amends and we've given back to society, I mean, it's sort of a brotherhood, But that's the problem with the police too. It's a brotherhood as well. And I don't know, maybe, I don't know, the one guy, he, saw his partner there doing nothing wrong. He's got to support him. And I'm like, dude, how the fuck can you stand there? I mean, just do nothing. Like, it drives me fucking nuts, man. Like, fuck. It really does. Like, it's just, I keep playing that back in my head, and I'm like, it's gotten real bad out there, guys. Where I'm recording this in July 2020, and it doesn't seem like it's getting worse, but it's definitely not getting better. And this will keep happening. Like I said before, years ago, with the whole do the right thing situation there. It was almost like watching the fucking movie. I'm like, this is not going to stop. I mean, people got to fucking go out there and protest and make a difference. But they gotta, it's gotta be civil. It has to be. It has to. We have to keep some control here. Okay, we can't just go out there and like an eye for an eye. We can't have that anymore. So my suggestion, long story short, is this: like with police officers, not just in the States, Canada, just everywhere in the world, they have to take a psych test, okay? Clearly, this guy is not in his right mind. I mean, there's something really, like, mentally wrong with this guy. Like, I've always said, like, let's say if you have, like, a Charles Manson mentality person out there, and if that person has a badge, you know how fucking scary that is? Like, that's the shit that keeps people up at night, Like, that's scary. And I'm sure people out there will go, oh, why don't firefighters take a test? Why don't people that work at Burger King take a test? It's like, well, you know what? You're in a totally different field. And you're dealing with something, that is way more serious. Now, I'm not trying to take away from people that work at Burger King or being a firefighter. I'm just saying, I mean, you got to be in the right state of mind when you're a police officer. And again, I know there's good police officers out there. I'm not trying to say everyone out there is bad, you know, but deep down, man, like if you know you're not right for this job, don't do it. You know what I mean? Just don't do it. You know? I mean, how many more lives do we have to lose because of this? And, you know, like I said before, it really sucks that a lot of times it comes down to people rioting, and it shouldn't have to. And there's nothing wrong with a peaceful protest. Like the guy I spoke to before, like I mentioned before at the laundromat there, you know, I don't know this guy from a hole in the wall, but he seemed like a pretty peaceful guy. You know, he made some good points, you know, and nobody wants violence. They just want their voice to be heard. And that's the most important thing about a riot, okay? We got to take the negativity out of the word riot, okay? It's about having a peaceful protest and good conversations with the opposing group and see if we can somehow find a middle, find something that everybody can agree on. And it takes time. It's not going to happen in one day, you know. It's going to take many sit-downs, you know. But somebody or both groups actually probably have to get together and say, hey, it's not worth it. Something good has to come out of this George Floyd situation, just out of every riot situation. We have to learn from this, or it's just going to keep happening over and over and over again. 5 days, 6 days. It shouldn't be 1 minute. I mean, this is just, it's too much. It's too much destruction for what? For nothing. For absolutely nothing. We have to make peace with everybody. It's not always going to be peaceful. I'm realistic. I know that. We know that, you know. But we have to have a protest that is nice and calm, that is contained, that people can respect, and doesn't cause any personal or physical damage. Forget the shit that you see in movies and music. This is real life, guys, okay? People are dying because of what people believe in government, religion, sexism, whatever, okay? There's no reason for this. There's no reason for human life being lost, okay? We have to keep this positive. We have to make sure that everything is well contained and everybody respects everybody in the situation of a protest. And if they don't, and if things go negatively, then we lost. And at that point, it's considered a riot.